and I wanted to talk about PCOS and things that you can control, things that you can't control, where to really draw the line when you're looking at this. Now, I'm going to specifically talk about PCOS. Realize that this, so many other hormones, so fibroids, endometriosis, perimenopause, menopause, things like that. It's not just PCOS, right? But I'm going to dive into this. This is actually what got me started in the work that I do. I had ovarian cysts. After my third was born, I had a super clean, pristine diet, was taking a basket full of supplements every day, was still getting cysts that would burst every month, never had them before. I went, it was my husband who actually took me into the ER because he thought I was going to die, right? And I was really stubborn because I let it go on for like a year and a half. And the doc was like, oh, here's your Vicodin, here's your birth control, see you later. And I was like, that's it? What? No, thank you. And what else, right? But this is what got me leading into the work that I do now. So, and if you're curious about the work that I do, if you're looking for a solution and something that is custom created for you, I'm going to put a link right here in the comments where you can learn more about the one-on-one work that I do. Custom creating whatever it is your system needs. We include hormone testing, making sure your body and system are getting exactly what it needs along the way, right? That's one of the biggest things here, that it can be really tough and frustrating to feel like you are trying all these things, right? And I have this phrase, like playing Russian roulette with your supplements. I hope this one works. I don't know if this is going to work, right? So when I go over a lot of information with women, oftentimes not only I'm telling you this is going to be a good thing to start with for you, and here's why, but also, this is how long it's going to take for your system based on your health history, what's going on, all these other things, right? And, every body is different. And what you need and what's going to work best for you is going to be different than somebody else, right? And more often than not, I keep having to say this and repeat things that are statements like this because I recently just did a post where I talked about carbs, and people get like very triggered about carbs, honestly. Very triggered about carbs. Okay. Human body needs carbs. That's how it physiologically was created. So until you change human physiology, female physiology, you can't change that fact. There's no cheap tricks or shortcuts to real health. But some of these things, unless you have something custom created for you, it can be really tough to keep spinning your wheels, right? So think back for yourself. If this is something that you struggled with, how long have you been struggling with this? Or whatever hormone issue it is for you. How long have you really been struggling with it? Has it been a year? 3 years? 5 years? The thing is that when I work with women, it's never less than a year that they've been struggling. I work with women and it's at least a year, if not longer. 5 years, 10 years. Literally, I worked with a gal who it was over 45 years she struggled with hormone issues. And when we finally got to the root of what was going on, it started to change everything. And I remember being on the phone with her and she cried. And this happens, it actually happens a lot. It happens a lot that when I chat with women, when we go over hormone tests, when you see Carrie, 15 years. Yeah. When we go over hormone tests, and I'm going to share something that I haven't really talked about. And it's okay if you cry. I'm okay with it. It just makes me uncomfortable. Like, look what I'm doing right now. Because I don't like giving bad news. I don't like saying things like, well, this is not good, right? What's happening in your body and system, this is not good. But for women to hear it, a lot of times they're realizing, oh my gosh, there is something here that I can point to. This is my starting point, right? It's like looking at a map and you want to get to this place, right? You want to get to the top corner of the map. This is where you need to be. And you try everything to get there. You try everything to get to that corner of the map. But you can't get there. You know why? Because you don't know where you're starting. And then any path that you take is not going to lead you there. Once you know where you start, then you know how to create the pathway. And that's what I help with, right? That's what we do together. So being on the phone with women and having them just break down in tears because they're finally realizing, oh my gosh, yes, this test result showed this thing. And I say, yes, this is why your body's doing this. This is why you can't get up in the morning. This is why you wake up every 3 hours at night. This is why no matter how clean you eat, you're not going to lose more than a half a pound. because your cortisol levels are terrible or whatever it is. Your body won't do it until these levels improve. So we have to improve the levels, and then your body responds. And oftentimes that process, it takes how long it takes for your system. And that's the journey that we go through, right? That's the journey that we go through in going down this. See, look, again, Amy, 15 years. Yep. Yes. Is the one-on-one same thing as the 12-week thing. So one-on-one is custom. So I create everything custom for you and really make it from scratch what you need. So it is different. But it's amazing how long you'll put up with stuff and how many different people you'll go see or practitioners and trying to get answers and all these other things, and to be told, gosh, all this. And again, I can't tell you how many women I've talked to that they're like, yeah, I got recommended just an antidepressant for this pain, right? So yeah, considering my 4th surgery in 10 years, see, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah, it happens all the time. So it's not for you to be experiencing this. And the reason I'm talking about this is just so you know you're not alone. And the way the system is set up is not set up for women to succeed. It's a male model system, right? They don't take female physiology into it. They don't take your hormones into account. They don't look at your health history, all these things that I make sure I talk about with women. Because it is important. Your health is cumulative. Things you have been through are cumulative. Your traumas are important and matter in your healing process. It does. And I know sometimes this is uncomfortable. It's something like, I don't really want to think about that or all these things, but I was like, it is important for me to know because it affects how your system responds as we move along through your health. And those things help you, again, get from the place you are to the location you want to get to. Sometimes it takes time, sometimes it takes 3 months, sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes it takes longer. But once you know you're on the right journey, so many women are willing to say, I'm okay with it taking a year, as long as I know I'm trucking along and headed in the right direction. I'm sick of spinning in circles. I don't want to be a Tasmanian devil trying all these things. I want to be able to get where I need to go. Yes. Just went to my primary doctor Friday. She tested my hormones and thyroid was normal. Oh my God. So blood tests show different things than urine. Next week I'm going to talk more about the Dutch test. So we'll talk about Dutch test and thyroid and cortisols and everything, right? And if you're just getting a TSH, I should do a video on thyroid tomorrow. Remind me to do that. It's not enough to look at your system and have a low functioning thyroid or thyroid symptoms, things like that, that also present. So if you're feeling like you have thyroid, but you're like, it's not thyroid, what is it? There's a list of other things that can be, and I'll do another video on that because sometimes it's stuff like this too, right? That very, very important that we go through that. Yes. Thyroid and Dutch test. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me write it down just so I remember. I'm a Post-it person. I love Post-its and all office supplies and colored markers. Okay. Jot that down in my chicken scratch. See, I take time to try and write this sometimes so it's legible for everyone. Okay. So, let's, thyroid with low cortisol. Yes. Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about PCOS. So what PCOS is, polycystic ovarian syndrome. That's what it stands for, right? And this can present in many different ways for women. It can be, you have a big cyst that bursts all the time like I had. You can have tiny cysts that reappear again and again and again or don't really go away. This can be a lot of pain. Some women don't have pain. Some women just have a lot of testosterone or other hormone issues, facial hair, weight gain, insulin resistance. I mean, you don't have to have all of the symptoms for you to have PCOS, right? It looks different for each person. So just know that. So even with that in mind, or be like, yeah, I was diagnosed with PCOS before, but that was like 15 years ago. I don't know. I don't really have the same problem as I did. I went on birth control or I had a kid and now I don't have the pain like I did before, but do I still have PCOS? What causes PCOS? right? What's the upstream thing from PCOS, right? This is the name they give it, but what is it really? Hormone imbalance. Hormone imbalance, and you're not processing your hormones correctly. Oh, you can't really see that. That's terrible. Sorry. You're not processing your hormones correctly. Your body's not taking it through phases of detoxification and kicking it out and leveling things out. So it's a hormone imbalance that causes the things that they call PCOS. And this is the same thing for all these other things, right? Upstream. So if all you're doing is starting with, oh, let's try and, mask the pain, like for me, where I was told Vicodin and birth control, there you go. That doesn't fix what's going on here, right? Ugh. So, what can I control? What can I not control? How much of this can I deal with? What is my, job here, and how much can I actually help things like PCOS and this hormone imbalance? So where in this spectrum do these things lie, right? So nutrition, you can absolutely, right, control your nutrition. Yes, for the most part, as much as you can. Are there some pieces of your nutrition that you can't control? Sure. There's some pieces, if you're going out to eat, if you're eating at another person's house, all of these things, right? All of these things factor in here. I am a gluten-free person. I have been for 16 years or so. Long time before people knew what gluten was. I used to try and go to a restaurant and be like, oh, do you have something that's gluten-free? They'd be like, ma'am, you have to pay for your food here. I was like, no, I know. I meant gluten. Like, gluten, the binding protein that's in wheat, barley, and rye. Do you know what a binding protein is? It's what holds everything together, and it's what makes bread dough really sticky and doughy and everything. And ma'am, please leave the restaurant. This is how I talk to people all the time. I'm just a big weirdo. It's okay. But there's times where you don't get to control your food, right? So being gluten-free, if I'm going to eat out, I risk, no matter what, there's always a tiny risk, unless it is a restaurant that is dedicated, right? There's no gluten on the premises. There's a few places like that, right? Those, I know, my risk, way down, and I am in control then of the food. Otherwise, the control you have sometimes is left up to other people, and there's not as much control. Sleep, same thing. You can control your sleep. Do you live with tiny people that wake you up in the middle of the night? So sometimes your sleep you can control, right? Sometimes your sleep you cannot control. So again, how much of this and how much of a routine do you have? How much self-care do you do? How much do you really do this? These things really matter, right? I mean, I can get into specifics on nutrition for PCOS and hormone imbalance, and that's what, I got a whole book on that. I just swore. I'm so sorry. I have a whole book on that. This is talking about nutrition that matches your hormones and your cycle, and then a whole book on menopause. Again, these are on Amazon, but with specifics, but the big overview picture of this really is, okay, what do I have to take care of and what can I not take care of? This stuff matters. These things matters. Absolutely. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. And it's not just, oh, I had sleep great for one day. It's how much of it, your health is cumulative. So in the past 6 months, how's your nutrition been? In the past 6 months, how's your sleep been? Same thing with stress. This is a little bit different maybe here for what you can control, right? We're going to say 90-10, right? 10% is just what happens to you. The 90% is how you respond. That we always have to work on sometimes, right? So some of that is beyond your control. Like life happens. It hits the fan sometimes. Yes. But how you react, how you respond, that's what you can control. So even if you do have a stress response, there's pieces of it you can control, but just know that. Your toxic load. You are in control of some parts of your toxic load. Now, I didn't do this in order of like this importance, this importance. I just made it pretty and like I wanted to do like it looks aesthetically pleasing. So don't think that nutrition is more in control than exercise, because this then would be over here more. Does that make sense? Okay. Toxic load. You are in control. Where do you spend your time? Are you at home all day? Like I am. I don't go anywhere anymore. Are you, I'm developing this new thing, by the way. I'm calling it Hermit Chic. Sweatshirts all day. Just kidding. This is not different than I was like 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever. But your toxic load in your house, where you're spending the most time. Are you using non-toxic products? What about your skin products? Just things that you come into contact with. Furniture in your house, all this stuff. A friend of mine was just posting about her, she's getting a new car seat for her baby. Baby car seats, the toxic load in those. Like, again, we're so worried about feeding our kids something that has, chemicals in it, yet you're putting them in this car seat every day that has toxins. And really bad crap in it, in the fabrics that's emitting right next to your little babe's face. Toxic load, right? It's amazing. It's amazing the amount of toxic load that we don't even think about that's around us. And it's enormous, right? So some of this you can control. If you shift things, change things in your environment, in your home, and what you're wearing and what you're using and all of that stuff. Some of it you can't control. If you work in an office or something and you're like, yeah, I don't control what the janitor uses to clean my desk, right? Yeah. So again, doing what you can, taking control of all of these pieces that you can. Exercise, right? This thing too, you can control, right? I would say more often than not, when you not control your exercise. I would say you can't control if you really want to get on a good workout routine and you're not sleeping and you don't feel good and all these other things. Are you going to be wanting to exercise a lot? No. Sort of a trickle-down effect, right? But all of these things matter. So here's the thing. If you are struggling with something like PCOS, right? If you are struggling with something like this, and all that you get talked to about is Vicodin and birth control like I did, and no one talks to you about the things that you absolutely can control, which is this list and more. But wait, there's more. I could talk for hours, right? On the specific seed cycling, right? Going through hormone detoxes, doing maintenance detoxes to keep your system refreshed. All of these things matter. And all those things are in your control. Meaning, so for me, my youngest is 10 now, and I had cysts for 1.5 years after she was born. So I haven't had a cyst in over 8.5 years. About 8.5 years, yeah. Now, do I still have PCOS? I mean, technically, no. But if I don't eat well, if my sleep goes to crap, if my stress is through the roof, if I don't, filter out my air or water or things, and I'm around a lot of garbage, and I don't exercise, is my PCOS going to come back? Oh, yeah. Right? Yeah. One of the biggest things for me, honestly, was this, and this is what's so important about learning how your system responds and reacts, right? And every body is different. So the reason I share so much about myself is to realize that I want you to think about you. What's your health history? What are things that matter for you? Things that matter for me is that I have an autoimmune condition, right? Does it bother me on a regular basis? No. Do I have flare-ups sometimes? Absolutely, right? But I know that I can control that and manage that really, really well through a lot of these things, right? I have a history of thyroid issues. I had thyroid issues after each of my babies was born. It's terrible, right? I don't have thyroid issues anymore, right? Would I, if I let my hormones get out of control, my stress levels get out of control, right? Because technically you can't say that you've cured, right? Something like that, right? But again, for everybody it's different. For what you do, and your health is cumulative, it all matters. And again, so for me, the one thing that was absolutely the worst for me when my cysts were, bursting every single month, my nutrition was pristine. No gluten, no dairy, no sugar, no red meat, no alcohol, pristine. I was eating the cleanest ever. And if I went a little bit off of there, I thought, oh man, is this going to have a cyst come? Or I'm super clean for a month and then I'd still get a cyst and then I'd be pissed. What? This isn't working. Crap, right? I wasn't sleeping. I had a preemie, a 2-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So no, I wasn't sleeping. Tiny humans, right? I did pretty well with this. I'd give myself a B-, right? Maybe a B, right? Definitely not an A+, but I was doing some type of movement. I was very active, but I made it to the gym infrequently, but just very active, like being outside with the kids, all that stuff. But the number one thing that was terrible for me was stress. I was under such an extreme amount of stress. And that's what really does it for me. When my body gets under a lot of stress, when I have things happen in my life, like having a preemie and trying to start a business, all these things, that's where, right? So I know that if I don't do certain self-care things and take care of my stress levels and manage things, and sometimes it's literally like I would love to go to somebody's birthday or whatever, but I am completely exhausted. I'm having an autoimmune flare. Is that the smartest thing for me to try and stay up later and eat foods that have more sugars in them or something? No. So I just be a hermit. I take care of myself, right? Because I know that's a big thing for me, right? For other people, for you, it might be different. It might be the exercise piece. It might be the toxic load piece. This is a big one I take women through. It's amazing the change that can happen when this shifts in your body. It really, really does. It really, really does. So I'm walking you through kind of a lot of scenarios, right? And I'm walking you through a lot of different things here. And you're like, oh, this is just lifestyle stuff. Yeah, it is. Because there's not one thing that is going to just fix your PCOS. Why? Because your health is cumulative. It all matters. And when you start to improve all these things, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. Yes. Yes. That's one of the biggest things here to really note and start working on. It's not easy, but again, and it's not a fast journey, but it is a journey that is going to take you to the end, right? You're going to get to the finish line. So this is the same thing I describe with everything, right? It's the tortoise and the hare. We're so used to doing things that are the hare. Oh, I'm going to do keto. Fast, quick, not actually winning in the end though, right? I'm going to cut all my calories. That's the hare, right? I'm going to do this extreme workout plan. I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to, XYZ. 99% of the diets on the market. That's the hare, right? What you want to be is the tortoise. Slow and steady, working on all these things, but you finally get to win the race. And as long as you're, again, like that map, headed in the right direction, you know exactly where you're going, and you know you're going to get there. And it's okay. You're okay with the process. It's okay to get frustrated every now and then, but you know that things are shifting and changing to lead you there, right? Yes. Okay. All right. I feel like I missed a couple of things. I don't remember the last time I wore regular clothes, leggings and sweatshirts, right? Yes. Seems like you could do a live for 24 hours straight on this and it wouldn't be enough with it all. Maybe I could. Maybe I should try that. 24-hour hormone challenge. What is that? I'm just going to talk about hormones for 24 hours. I don't know that I'd be able to do that. I would have to take hydration breaks. Would I get a break? Well, how would that work? You guys can tell me. Maybe there'd be breaks. There'd be breaks, right? There'd be breaks built in. This isn't like putting your hand on a car and trying to win it. Are those things a thing anymore? I don't know. I see those in movies. This gives me so much hope. I have had thyroid issues after kids. Yes, right? And PCOS. I can't wait to improve all of these. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And again, for a lot of these things that I throw out there, I talk about it, and I talk about a lot of different things, and I bring up stories of women that I've worked with because I want you to know that you're not alone. Being frustrated, being stuck, everything else, you are not alone. Yes, sleep. You just said sleep is important. Sleep is important. Sleep is very important. Yes. And I know I think it's late right now. I didn't mean to talk this long. It's definitely late right now, and I am past my timeline for evening routine. It got pushed back. Somebody was upset about somebody else turning a light on or off in the bathroom. It's my children. So I got pushed for the timeline a little bit. So as a mom, right, what gets shortened here again? Sleep. Because I'm taking care of the emotional needs of the smaller humans. They're not tiny humans anymore. They're smaller humans. But still, yeah, go to bed. Thank you, Katie. Right? Okay. So, that's what I got for you guys today. Lots of good things to dive into. Again, if I talked about something you want me to do a deep dive on it more, if you want more content, more info, I'm going to talk about thyroid more next week. I'll talk about Dutch test more next week, really going into some of these things. But again, if this is something that you're listening to, watching, and you're like, ooh, I feel like this is opening up a lot of things, or light bulbs are going off, that's amazing. And just know that this is only the beginning. So keep going from here. And it's easy to get lost or frustrated with learning that, gosh, I wish I would have known this 10 years ago. I had somebody say that to me yesterday. She was like, I wish I would have talked to you 10 years ago. And I was like, I know. But it's better to start now, right? Of course, when is the best time to start a diet? Last year. When's the second best time? Today. But yes, right? So don't get discouraged. You can do this. And if you need help, I'm here as a resource for you. Again, in the comments, there's that link where you can learn more about how to work with me in more one-on-one setting. And then other resources I have for you besides my books, I have a podcast called The Female Health Solution. And then I also have a YouTube channel called Dr. Beth Westie where you can subscribe to stay updated on everything. So that's what I got for you. Have a great night. I'm going to go to bed now. I'll see you guys later.